So what we want to talk to you about now is retention marketing, and why we believe that retention marketing is probably one of the most important strategies for retailers from this point onwards. Sorry to bring you back to the pandemic, but one of the features of the pandemic was the explosion in the amount of people shopping online. I'm looking at the CSO figures here, and I'm using November as a good bellwether for retail. Since then, though, there's been a recalibration of those numbers. Even with that recalibration, though, if you compare 2023 to 2019, online shopping is up about 66%. But one of the features of the explosion in the forced customer adoption of online shopping means a lot more competitors wanted to take advantage of that. And one of the advantages of e-commerce is that it gives you guys access to a global audience, but the payoff is it also gives global brands access to your audience. And that's something that we've absolutely seen, and Maeve has touched on. We've seen Shein come from nowhere over 3 years, and now they're making more money than both Zara and H&M. And we've also seen, and I'm sure you're sick of seeing Temu. This is an actual search engine results where Temu are dominating. Just out of interest, put your hand up if you're willing to admit that you've bought something from Temu. And I'm always really, I want to talk to you guys later about your experience there.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I'm always really interested to meet people because they are absolutely everywhere. And just to put it into context for you, last year Temu spent 3 billion on paid advertising. They spent 1.5 billion on Facebook advertising alone. And to put that into further context, the entire Irish advertising market is worth about 1.5 billion, and they spent that on paid ads on Meta. Which is insane, but they're not using strategies that we haven't seen before. They're using the same channels that you guys are using. They're just commanding budgets, the likes of which that we've never seen before. So what do you do, or how can brands compete with these competitors, with these massive brands? Well, the answer lies in customer value, and getting better at helping your customers, convince your customers to spend more often. So retaining and growing those customers. You might be familiar with this stat, that it's estimated it costs between 5 to 25x to acquire a customer as it does to retain a customer. I actually don't think that's been the case over the last number of years, because what happened when we had, with the growth of Facebook and the growth of Google, we had what we call an acquisition gold rush. We had really cheap traffic, and it became actually more cost effective to acquire new customers than to develop expensive loyalty schemes and retain those customers. But as Maeve just pointed out, in a lot of ways, the days of that cheap traffic is over. Now, it's still some of the most cost effective advertising you do, and acquiring new customers is still absolutely crucial to growing your brand, but there's no getting away from the fact that acquisition costs are increasing, and that's what's going to bring customer retention back into focus. And that's what means that the most important question that any retailer should be asking themselves is, how do I get my customers to spend more often and increase my customer lifetime value? And that will be your competitive advantage on e-commerce and retail. So to tackle that issue for us, I'm delighted to welcome up to the stage Michaela. Will you please give her a round of applause?
Hi. So, right, with customer acquisition costs like that, the one thing I suppose we never want to have to do now is pay to reach a customer that you've already won. So this is where your CRM and your email are absolutely key. If you guys, any of you are doing email and CRM with Wolfgang, you'll know that you're constantly sort of collaborating with the team here to look at the data that you have and come up with new ideas and ways in which you can use that to increase your customer lifetime value. Now, those ideas that you come up with, they would tend to sit somewhere within this retention marketing framework, these 4 phases. We've got pre-purchase, transactional, retention, and advocacy. So I'd like to explain these 4 phases a little bit by using some practical examples, some of which will look really familiar to some of you. And also, like, as we're looking at these examples, maybe you can have a think about the data you have, anything that's similar to what we're talking about here, and maybe think of some ideas that you might have to bring back to your businesses to increase your customer lifetime value. So first up, we've got Shaw's. This is in the pre-purchase phase. So this is a user who has just signed up for their mailing list of a social lead gen ad. They've got their welcome email, a nice little offer there for them, 10% off. And a welcome email like this has a conversion rate of 6.6%, so getting the journey going. Similarly for Shaw's, we also have an abandoned browse flow email. So again, this is a user who's come to the website, looked at a few products and left. Essentially, this is going to trigger an email 2 hours later with some relevant products that are being pulled in from a dynamic feed. And this type of email has a conversion rate of 12%, so actually very high conversion rate on this type of thing. Once that first transaction has been made, now you open up a whole new arena where you can start to build and find new ideas to further develop that customer lifetime value. And this is a really nice example from the Night Sky. So this user has just made their purchase of the Night Sky star product, literally a star map, and they've got their confirmation email for it. And it's offering them some upgrades. It's offering them, maybe do they want to add a frame for it, or would they like it on a canvas instead? This is a really nice one because what we see here is a conversion rate of 2%. Now, when you think about that, that's a really impressive conversion rate for somebody who's literally just made the purchase that they wanted to make. And now we're adding another 2% onto that. So all of this is just additional revenue. So it's really clever. Next, in the retention phase. So this is the phase where we can think about how we can increase the value of even our more loyal customers. So in this example, we've got PetStop, and this user has ordered cat food on 2 occasions. So what this does is it's triggering an invitation to join a cat food subscription service, basically taking the stress out of having to remember when you're about to run out of cat food and having to put that purchase in. If any of you've got hungry cats at home, you know how stressful that actually is. So the conversion rate on these ones is 5%. But this is putting PetStop in a great position now because PetStop is starting to get a future view on recurring orders, which is a really, really nice place to be. And finally, we've got the advocacy stage. So now we can start to think about our best customers, our most loyal customers, and what can we do to deepen those relationships and strengthen those relationships. So one example here is Shoes for Cruise. We like to find out when our customers' birthdays are. And we trigger birthday flows in and around their birthday. These types of emails have almost unheard of open rates of 92%, conversion rates of 4.7%. And again, so simple. This is purely because we decided to engage with them in and around a special time in their life and generate conversions this way. Similarly, you can look at your most loyal customers, you can look at your best reviews, your best testimonials, and you can look at ways in which you can funnel those back around to the beginning of the cycle, back into your pre-purchase flows, into your welcome flows, and use those as a great way to engage with your most newly acquired customers. And we found this really effective here for Shoes for Cruise as well, driving up these click rates on those welcome flows. So just 3 really quick takeaways to leave you with. First of all, I think you've gathered, we can't overstate the importance of focusing on your CRM right now. Secondly, once you have that data, the richer that data, the more analysis you can run on it, the more fun you can start to have with it, and the more creative you can get really into really fun marketing ideas with it. And thirdly, you can, with your CRM, your email, things like SMS in place, you can really start to pull these levers to drive customer lifetime value in a really significant way.